What was the first step creatively that you took as far as
Creatively,
training?
I got
Who was the first teacher you studied with, and then let's get into it.
I don't remember his name. He
Okay.
was a very, it was a small, he was a real small time guy in Hollywood that someone had told me about. And he did, it wasn't even like scene study. It was scene study, but he would take like scenes from television shows.
Yeah.
And you would do those.
Okay.
Excuse me. And he would, and he would critique them.
Okay.
And I actually enjoyed that class because it didn't turn out it didn't turn out to be the sort of in-depth study that I did later on. But starting out, it was really kind of cool to sort of, get these pages, look at them, study them a little bit, and have somebody actually look at me. First of all, have enough balls just to get up in front of 25 people and just do this, and then have this, this professional, this guy who wasn't a bad guy. He seemed to know what he was doing, and sort of give you some pointers on what you can do. His whole thing was about getting work immediately. He really wasn't about like going into this deep philosophical sort of training techniques and things like that. He was about like the practicality of walking into a casting director's office or someone's office and presenting yourself and not bumping into the furniture and be able to read lines and get a job. That's really what he was about.
Well, that's actually good training.
It was really good. I didn't do it for very long, but I did it for a while. I did it for as long as the money would last. By that time, I was working a couple of part-time jobs, enough to get a credit card with a limit of, $350 on it, and that's how I paid for my acting classes. After that class, I went away for a while. I had to work and just survive.
Mm-hmm.
And not for very long. And then I got I read in a magazine, two things happened. Somebody told me about Peggy Feury, and I also read in a magazine an interview with an actor. I think it was Sean Penn, I'm not sure. And they mentioned this place called the Loft Studio. And I went, that's where I want to be. And then this friend told me a little bit more about it, and they said, you got to audition. They just won't take you in. You have to audition. You have to be accepted into this place. And I was like, I don't know dick about acting. I don't know, I don't know what I'm doing here, but let me just, so I went down there. I think I filled out some paperwork, and there was a time to go and set up an audition before, I think it was for Bill Trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And I went down, and I think I did a scene. And he interviewed me, short interview, and I think it was a few weeks later, I got accepted into the class, which was a big, big deal. This was not an easy place to get into. When I started training there, the class that was leaving, that had just sort of, finished was, Sean and Nick Cage and Johnny Depp and all these. I mean, it was a really great place to study, and I was really excited to be there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Peggy Feury went to, she's got a great bio, and I'm not going to get into her whole bio, but she did go to the Neighborhood Playhouse, and she's a member of the Actors Studio, was a member of the Actors Studio.
Right.
She passed away and so she taught the method. She also taught at the Strasberg Institute.
She did. I think she was the artistic director there.
Artistic director of the Strasberg Institute.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was that? What was that stepping into that environment?
Intimidating.
Yeah.
For me, yeah, sure. There were a lot of working actors, young working actors in those classes, and they were serious. I mean, this was like serious business.
What does that mean?
You just took it seriously. You took the work. You took the work very seriously. There was a scene study class, and that's where you would go to present your scene to Peggy, and then Bill ran the class, the technique class. You'd go twice a week, and then the space was open for rehearsal. You would sign up for a rehearsal space with your partner, and you would go rehearse the scene. Mm-hmm. You would also work on the scene in the technique class with Bill Trailer, and you would do you would do effective memory exercises. You would do sense memory exercises. You would take maybe a little chunk of the scene that you were working on, and you would work the scene with Bill, and sort of try to come to an understanding of what your character was doing, how you relate to the character, how can you identify with the character. And that was, for me, that was like the stuff that I wanted to do. It was real serious. And the actors took it very seriously, and so did he. And then at a certain point in your rehearsal, you could take a week, you could take 10 days, you could take 2 weeks, but you presented the scene to Peggy, and then she would critique it.
What was the nature of the critique? Basically, would she critique it from the point of view of, what do you want to tell me, or would she just tell you what she thought?
Both. I mean, it would depend on the scene. It would depend on the day. You would do the scene many times before you'd move on to another scene.
Yeah.
She wouldn't let you move on until she felt that you grasped some sort of understanding and had some kind of connection to that character and that scene and that story. Mm-hmm. And you wouldn't move on until you at least accomplished that. And that doesn't mean necessarily that you came in and you did this fantastic job. That's one of the things that I liked about it. It wasn't about getting up and performing and having everyone give you a standing ovation. It was really about studying the moment-to-moment process of what makes a scene work and what makes you work in the scene, what you do, what your process is. It was an environment that was created and made it safe for you to be able to fail. And that's what I liked. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I loved most about Peggy was, because I was such a serious guy, she encouraged this sort of element of play. Play. This is, you ever watch kids play? Mm-hmm. They're completely uninhibited. Mm-hmm. They don't care what you think.
Right.
They're just doing what they do.
That's why you're
they
not
fall down, they get up.
That's why you're not supposed to act with them.
That's because you look like a fool. Kids and animals.
Right.
So, and I loved that. I mean, she would have me, I remember one time she had me, there were these stairs. It was the loft studio, so you would open the doors on La Brea, and there was this long stretch of stairs that went all the way up to the loft. I don't know, it must have been 40, 50 stairs. So she would say, come over here, come over here. Do you remember she goes, walk down the stairs, run down the stairs. So I went down the stairs, mm-hmm. and then I came back up. She goes, now, is that the way that you went down the stairs when you were, 10? I said, I don't know. She goes, you're a kid, you're 10 years old, now go down the stairs. So I went down this, when you were a kid and you would fly downstairs in
Sure.
school, you almost wouldn't step on the stair. Your foot would sort of slide off each step.
Yeah, yeah.
You would almost glide.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember going, she goes, that's what I'm talking about. She goes, the simple act of walking down the stairs as an adult is cluck, 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 watching your steps. She goes, as a kid, you're just sort of like, you're just rolling down the stairs like a stone. You know what I mean? And she goes, now come back up. How would you come back up? And I would just like jump 3 steps at a time,
right.
and then jump back down 3 steps and then up.
Right.
And it sort of brought out this playful, I got what she was trying to, get me to understand.
So it was an aha moment. The light went on.
The light went on. Like, don't think so much about it. Don't think about every step. Don't become so cerebral about it. Do your work, sit down, break down a script. What are you doing? Objective, super objective, make, intentions, and understand the material by all means. But once you're performing, you gotta let all it go. You gotta. Get out of your head. Just, and that's what I really enjoyed about her. I think that's also where she and guys like Bobby Lewis and Stella Adler and Sandy Meisner, who were all group theater. For you folks out there, these are group theater people that all started and developed what came to be known as the method, which was a Stanislavski system of acting that came to be known as the method system of acting here. And I think that's where, like Peggy and Bobby, they broke with Lee Strasberg on this point that the method sort of started to become this very cerebral, deeply psychological internal process. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that Bobby would say, I think that's where Bobby broke with
Bobby Lewis.
Bobby Lewis broke.
Who is, since you're bringing his name up,
Yeah.
he's the founder
Yes.
of the Actors Studio, along with Cheryl Crawford and Harold Clurman.
Right.
So
He felt that there was, not that there was anything wrong with things like effective memory and things like that, but he felt that there was too much emphasis placed on it. Mm-hmm. There was too much emphasis on this internal, emotional process that an actor has to go through to identify with a character, dredging up all your own personal emotions in order to he thought that it was bullshit, a lot of it. He was really, he had a very specific way of doing that, and he wouldn't emphasize it too much. He was really big on formal type training, voice, using your physicality, you know, movement. You know, he would often say when actors would get up and, you know, and perform a scene, I can't hear you.
Right.
You know, because they'd be doing, you know, this sort of maybe this method shit. Or they would just be shy, you know?
Yeah.
And he would say, come on, you're on the stage. You know, he wouldn't use the word project. But he's like, you know, you're here. We're here. We need to hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I liked about, and I think that's where Peggy went when she opened the Loft Studio. That's where she broke with, still keeping, you know, very much in tune with the philosophies and the practices and the techniques of the method, but not so much hyper focus on this deeply internal psychological process of really, you know, getting really deep into this, you know, emotional thing.
Right. Well,
So-
I mean, Bobby Lewis wrote a fantastic book, which was based on a series of lectures he gave in 1957 called Method or Madness.
Right.
Where for 8 weeks, one night a week, there was a Broadway theater that was booked for this event, and it filled up with actors and writers and directors and people
Right.
that wanted to basically get clarification on what it was that was being talked about when the method was being mentioned, and what all of this was about. And he lays it out. And this is the guy, a group theater member and the founder of the Actors Studio. This is the guy that lays it out. He says, look, it's not about dogma, okay? It's about technique, you know?
Yeah.
And whatever technique works for you is fantastic, as long as there is a technique, because otherwise it's going to be luck, and you're not always going to be lucky.
Right, right, yeah. I think what Bobby had in common with Peggy and even Sandy Miser was have a point of view. You know, I don't care. They would all say, I don't care if it's wrong. I don't care if you come in and it's wrong. I don't give a shit. But have a point of view. I want you to make choices. I want you to make, what's your intention here? What are you doing? And I want to see a clear choice. And I don't care if it's right or wrong, but I want to see that.